I have my photo up here on the screen. This is just kind of an overview for people who aren't familiar with us. This is Mike Leahy talking. Bart Fannin, our operations manager, my right-hand person, he is joining today as well. If you notice that on your screen, you have the ability to ask questions. So feel free to type in questions during the session. We also will break a few times for a minute or two, and if anybody wants to ask questions live, we can do that at that time. So just want to make sure everybody knows, but Bart may be answering questions. If it's a question maybe specific just to your company, he may answer that or otherwise wait and answer that for the entire group. So for those of you who aren't familiar with our company, we've been in business forever. We are manufacturing, 90% of our customers are manufacturers. You know, we are manufacturing and distribution ERP experts. We've worked with the Macola software for 30 some odd years. We are located in Cincinnati. And what we do is we develop software to allow you to have a better experience, that make your Macola software easier to use. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this here, and we'll jump right in. What I'm also going to do today is, this is an opportunity for me to show everybody features of the software, maybe not of this optimization module, but features of the software that I think are really important, and for some reason maybe people haven't ever attended a training class and just haven't stumbled into some of these options that we have. So let's talk about the big picture here. The big picture is we created this new optimization module. So if you look here on the top of the screen, you'll see that we have a new tab that is turned on through security. It's called Inventory Optimization. And the idea is that over the past few years, we've developed a whole slew of reports and screens to help the whole supply chain, the inventory optimization concept, to make that better. And what we have found over the years is that each company approaches this differently. In other words, there's no cookie cutter approach to optimization or to supply chain. Everybody does things just a little bit differently. So over the past few years, we have developed a variety of reports to help people, kind of regardless of the way that they want to do things. I'll give you an idea. We have people who are constantly looking at shortages and constantly, and I'll show that screen momentarily, they're constantly looking at shortages. And then they just, when it comes time to release the order to the floor, you know, they hope for the best. Other people are constantly wanting to know, they're not releasing anything to the floor if it has a shortage, because it's just, you pull in the parts and it's just going to sit there. We have other people that when each customer order comes in, when the customer order arrives, at that moment, they want to look and see, are there any components that we don't have? Maybe you have relatively short lead times. So these variety of ways. So what we're doing now in our optimization module is giving you all those tools. So for example, if we have a report that's just dynamite, but it sells for $1,500 or $1,000, it's hard for us to get everybody exposed to that. So what we decided to do is to take all of that and put it together under one module. So in other words, for the most part, all of the items here that we're seeing in this inventory optimization are what's being included in that. I have a few things like the stock status report that's been around for a long, long time. So again, these are features of the software, and our normal modules, like the inventory module or purchasing, those are $2,000 modules. You know, I'll just click on here. This is inventory, and it has a bunch of things as well. But we wanted to create this new one called Inventory Optimization. Now, I should also mention that when we do these kind of classes, I'll get a note from somebody and they'll say, well, my screen doesn't look like that. What's the deal? And it may be that I'll give you a good example. Let's look at item detail, the item detail screen. And I'm going to put in a part number E3089. That's the one that I use. Okay, this report has been around for years, 10 years. But just a year or two ago, we added the ability to include tabs here. So you see this section called custom reports. Each one of these you can open or close these. So we added this, and it's the regular, and the way you do this is you go into the settings, the red wrench, and you can cut and paste them in here. So for example, what I did was I wanted to be able to see for my parts, I wanted to see inventory aging, or I wanted to see inventory turns, or I wanted to see a usage history, a usage detail history, or I wanted to look at on-time shipping, or I wanted to look at transaction history for this item. So I included these buttons. So these buttons can be, I can give each of you a copy of my screen, and then you can use that and remove or add ones that you want to it and have this as a starting point. So my point here is that you're going to see things today, oh, I don't have that screen. In some cases, we may simply have renamed it, or I may have renamed it because I didn't like the name that we initially had. So this is just one example that I wanted to talk about. But let's go back to the stock status report, and let's talk about the fundamentals of what we've done with inventory. Macola's inventory module is excellent to a degree. And I say that because over the past few years, we've been heavily involved with looking at Microsoft Dynamics 365, or looking at SAP Business One, or looking at Acumatica. They all have pluses and minuses, but inventory-wise, and the ability to track inventory, Macola is right up there at the top. Except, remember, we have this 35 years or 30 years of working with Macola. We know where the weaknesses are. And the weaknesses are areas where we have added, we've extended the item master. So in other words, we've added months of inventory on hand. We've added 3, 6, and 12 month usage trending. We've added date of last usage, date of last purchase, date of last activity, date of last manufacturing, date of last sale. And we've also added month by month usage quantities, month by month on hand quantities. So I'll give you an example. Why do you need all this? So let's take a look at this first item here. We have 50 months of inventory on hand. So if you divide that by 12, that is almost it's over 2 years worth of inventory. And you can see here that, yeah, we're using it, but we're not using that much. So I look over here and I look at the date of last purchase. Well, why are we buying more of this when we already have 50 months of inventory? So this is just a good example, a quick example of how these dates, it may be that also that we're buying it, but we're not using it. So there's no date of last activity or date of last usage. And if you're wondering in our terminology, what is the definition of activity versus usage? Everybody should have our Pulse dashboard definitions document, our definitions document. And in there, we define exactly how we categorize things. And just to give you a preview, if you're APIX certified or if you're familiar with APIX, everything that we're doing, all of these fields here, plus inventory turns, that's another one, inventory turns, they are all, we are following APIX rules on everything. So when we developed this years ago, we took my APIX coach and paid him to look at what we were doing and to sort of certify that the toughest one is inventory turns. And this is giving you an idea now. This is part of what you've had for years. It's not part of the inventory in other words, it's not something brand new. That's part of the optimization. Okay, so Let's talk now about shortages. Our philosophy with the software is it's our job to help you ship on time. And it's our job to ship on time. You have to know if you have it in stock or not, or if you don't have it in stock, when it might be in stock. So it might be, for example, that you're manufacturing something, you have none today, but 2 weeks from now, you'll have plenty enough to handle orders. So we're approaching shortages from two venues. The first one is customer order shortages. So make believe that you are the customer service manager. You're responsible for setting expectations when customers order, and setting expectations on the delivery dates. So what this is designed to do is, let's make believe that it's Monday morning, and can we make it through the end of the week? I'm going to look for my customer. These are my finished goods shortages. We're going to talk about component shortages in a second, but these are finished goods shortages that affect customer service. So something else that we also did along the way is Macola's MRP module is excellent, but it's not fast and it's not multi-location. So when I double click on this, that's a full MRP regeneration. You're seeing that's taking about half a second. When it gets bogged down, it might take 30 seconds, but it's not 1 hour or 4 hours. So in other words, you can be doing regens all through the day with our software. So this is saying here we have these items that are, we're not going to be able to ship them on time. So let's drill down and see what the deal is here. Okay, red is bad, means that we have an order that we cannot fulfill. Now we have a replenishment here. Here's production order replenishment, but it's coming in too late and it's coming in with an insufficient quantity. So in other words, we may be able to ship momentarily, but then immediately we're going, let's take a look at another one. Okay, green is good, red is bad. So we're able to ship these orders. All of a sudden we go red, we have a replenishment. That replenishment only handled the next 2 orders. Then immediately we went red. We had another replenishment. It was an insufficient quantity. It got us nothing until this big one down here. So this is all based on the demand and replenishment date. And we also include a forecast. Okay, so what do? You call production and you say, hey guys, hey ladies, we need to move up things to ship on time. Or you call the customer and say, I'm sorry. If these are pass-through items that are purchased, you may have to call the vendor. But the idea is that you have to, the beginning of the week, and then as the week progresses, maybe it's Thursday, and now we're saying we've handled all our fires. We're now going to look at over the next 15 days, and the same deal. You know, that was a full MRP regen. So let's take a look now at the component shortages. It's the same routine. It's Monday morning. Can we make it through Friday with no shortages? Okay, in this case, we have 39 components that are preventing us from completing production orders. So my philosophy on this whole thing is you can dwell on individual production orders all day. You can dwell on individual item numbers all day, but this is what counts. This is the problem. If I resolve these 39 items, all my problems go away, or if I focus on these. So let's take a look at this first one here. By this time, you know, white are replenishments, red is not good. So this was a purchase order replenishment. We've had 2 of them. They're coming in too late and they're coming in too short. Let's take a look at another one here. Okay, this is death right here. We have 3 production orders and nobody ever told purchasing to buy this item. You see over here, they're P items. So we missed out on this completely. We have no And technically what this is doing is looking over the next 15 days, go back here again, it's looking over the next 15 or next 5 days, and then after that, it's looking to infinity. So this is showing you that not only within your planning window, you do not have a replenishment, but there's also none looking all the way into the future in infinity. Okay. So let's look at some other ways that people look at shortages. And that is to, in the wrong place here. That is to look at each individual order. So we're going to look at another way of doing this, that I want to be able to look at these items as when the orders come in the door. Okay, so here's the customer order number, 122134, remain distributors, this part here. So what it's doing down below then, whenever I click on an item in the lower section, you see the lower section is telling me the part numbers are changing. In the lower section, it's doing a summarized bill of material, not a level by level, because you may have a component that's used in multiple levels. So what it's saying here is we're in deep trouble. We have, of all of these components, we have none of them available. These are some extreme examples here, but let's find one that has something better to show. Okay, this one's not getting any better. But so you can see, in addition to telling you you can't make it, now it's also then telling you what you need. Okay, I have the wrong part numbers down here. Hold on. For some reason, I'm choosing the wrong items, sorry. But it's telling you what you need versus what you have on hand, what's already allocated, what's available, and so on. So this is another way of looking at it order by order, or the same routine. Here are our outstanding production orders, outstanding unreleased production orders, and I want to be able to drill down, summarize bill of material. This casing, and the packing material are insufficient quantity. So here we have total quantity needed, what we have on hand, what we've allocated, and so on. So at the beginning we said just show everything for the next 5 days or 15 days. Now we're getting down into real detail of order by order. Now I did send a handout that I forgot to reference at the beginning. So let me backtrack just a little bit and kind of follow this, and we'll skip over the ones that we've, this multi-level bill of material has been very popular. And so we decided that we were going to include that in the optimization module. So here is the single level bill of material that was developed years ago. And for those of you who aren't familiar with using this dashboard software, if I bring the parent item up here, that means that I'm looking at the components of the parent. If I flip-flop this and I look at it by component, now I have a where used. By just dragging this up and saying I want to group it, how I want to group it. So the multi-level bill of material works a little bit differently. You identify the part, and then what it's doing is it's providing, and this is a multi-level, you can see in this case there's only one level, but it's showing you all the levels. Again, since we have all the information in Macola available at our fingertips, now we can look at what's on order, what's on hand, what's allocated, so on and so on. We can start looking at costs and so on. One of the reasons that we do costs here is that we want to be able to show you that the rolled up cost is such and such, and the cost, average cost or last cost in Macola is something, maybe something different because you haven't rolled up. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is it's our ABC class generator. Now, why is this important? Well, I don't have to tell all of you, you're in this every day. The ABC classes allow you to categorize your inventory and focus just on the A items. The C items will all take care of themselves. We don't worry about them. The B items are stuck in the middle, but the A items, we cannot go short on A items. And they represent, in terms of looking at this, 80% of our dollar usage. And so my advice here also is that we provided this option here because we had a customer that demanded this, but it is wrong. We do not want to look at classifications by location and item. In other words, if I have a Cincinnati operation plant and I have an outside warehouse in Cincinnati, just because I have a small usage item in the warehouse doesn't change. It needs to be by item. And I also then need to be able to I need to classify our inventory separately from manufactured versus purchased items. So just remember that it's per item, separate calculations for purchase versus manufactured. So what you do is you click here, and it's going to use these percentages that you have up here. And I did something messed up with my database here because the usage is not showing. But the idea is that it will tell you what the current class is, and then will tell you what its suggested class is. And if you don't like that, you can change it back to the way that it was. But the idea being that once a month, once a quarter, that you are classifying your ABCs by item, not by location. And remember that if you use 1 million washers a quarter, and they only cost 1/10 of a cent each, that is not an A item. An A item is where you're using your top 80% of all inventory usage. So again, here we have this that works for those of you who are using or have used McCullough's ABC. You'll notice that it doesn't hold up the way it should. Okay, so we're down to the next page. Another popular program that we have that we've included is our Recal program. And if you're using MRP, you may just be using reorder levels for just certain items. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to well, that wasn't good. I think that I changed something. Well, the point of this is that with some setup, and there's some SQL coding that goes behind, that we are establishing what your reorder level, your min. First of all, we're just establishing what parts we're going to have a reorder level because they're not all going to. So we're reestablishing what our min is, what our max is, what McCullough calls the order up to. And then we are also recalculating safety stock if we're using a safety stock. And then we are also then looking at purchase order lead times. So we are updating the purchase order lead time based on the history of each vendor for that part. So I apologize, I didn't have this thing working correctly. And then when you have it working the way you want it to be, then you push this and you update the values. And then there's also a history report to show you what the history has been of changes to min-max or to the safety stock. So this is included in there. And I see here what I did is I did something with a customer to test this, and it isn't working right. Okay. For those of you who are using McCullough's MRP, we have developed this MRP action report. The McCullough's MRP is great, but it's not real time. It's not multi-location, and the reports are tough to learn how to use. So in the past, I've done a lot of work in automotive, and this is how automotive looks at theirs. They look at their months across the page rather than down the page. So what this MRP action report is looking at all items, and then you're flipping through this. Now, let's take a look at this item here. This is week by week. So down on week 8 or week 7, I have a problem. I'm not going to worry about that today. I'm just focusing on the next week. Here, I know that in 2 weeks, I'm in serious trouble. I have to do something immediately in order to get my, because I have none on hand. I have no, looking for my, here, I'm looking for my planning period or my lead time here. So the point being that this is showing me all the details, and then my job is to work through all the parts, identify the ones that have serious problems, and then I have to take action. This is all the gory detail version of that. This is the summary version of that, where I'm just saying, this is what my MRP generated demand is. This is what my purchase orders. I don't care about the dates. I just know that in certain weeks, things are going to happen. And here's another example here. In week 3, we're in serious trouble. These others, they take care of them. This one we don't need to worry about. So this is included for those of you who are using Macaulay's MRP program. Now you can use both of them, ours and Macaulay's. What's unique about ours is not only is it fast and it's multi-location, but there's no setup. It's just depending on date fields. It's depending on accurate customer dates, customer order dates, purchase order dates, production dates, and lead times. So we've looked at the action report. The next one we want to look at is the purchasing buying history. So we'll come back to, I have 2 databases going. This is not suggested to try this at your look. I have 2 versions of dashboard running simultaneously. But I want to look at this purchasing buying history. And right here. Okay, this is something that a lot of people don't know. You've seen these advanced screen designer reports where we have a top section and a bottom section. But if you have a lot of columns to show, you can have them be side by side. Here's an example. Here's an example of top and bottom. The details are down below. So this one allows you to, flip back and forth. I'm looking at purchase order receipts for the past 6 months for each vendor. And I don't want to drill down, come back, drill down, come back. So this is a convenient way of looking at it, of the buying history. The purchase order generator is another one. I'm going to make believe that I am Pete Bowers and I am in the Cincinnati location. I want to look at all vendors. So this works for 2 things. This works for items that you have to set it up to define how you want it to be. But let's say you want to use this just for purchase items that have reorder levels. Another popular way of using this is for shop orders. Those of you who are using shop orders, to use shop order outside processing. Okay, so before we dig into this, I promised a slight break where Bart would talk about questions. I sort of overlooked that. So Bart, do you want to?
Yeah, no, we've got a couple questions, and feel free to ask just on the questions area on the screen there. You can ask anything. Odds are if you are thinking it, someone else is probably interested in getting the question answered as well. 2 questions. One is for the inventory module. How would a customer get that installed on their system? What needs to take place first?
Well, you have to turn that on in licensing. You have to turn that on for each user, because our security is not based on Macaulay's security or anything. It uses Microsoft SQL security, and it's at the module level and the report level. So you have to turn it on in licensing, turn it on for each user, and then each of the reports you would have to turn on for that user. So it's just a matter of a phone call. There are the inventory module has some stored procedures that run each evening at midnight or so, and they have to be turned on as well. So it's a very simple process. You just call our support desk. We have a dedicated support desk for Macola support and for dashboard support.
Okay, thank you. And one more, the two multi-level bill of material reports that you were showing on the top and the bottom, they wanted to know, are they modular? In other words, are we able to merge the two reports?
You're not going to merge the two reports. Here, let me come out of this for a second. But basically, if I'm interpreting the question, you want to take this report down here and use it someplace else. Or you're wanting to take some other reports that we have where we've merged, we have what we call the advanced screen designer, where we're marrying two reports together. So yes, these reports are designed to be modular. If you wanted to use this exploded bill of material someplace, or if you wanted to use the I want to go back here to find that the component shortages, like this screen here, which is a summarized bill of material versus an exploded bill of material. So they're all available. Each one of these has a name to it and it is usable like that. Good questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Bart?
No, that's it for now.
Okay. So I'm going to go to our purchase order generator, and I'm going to, again, this is for parts that need to be reordered, can be used for shop floor outside operations. So I'm going to make believe that I'm Pete Bowers in the Cincinnati location. So what this is doing now is it is telling me that I have all of these vendors to deal with. And for each vendor that is telling me, again, what the rules are, don't worry about these numbers. The idea is that we're saying these are the parts that need to be ordered. A formula needs to be in to determine what the recommended order quantity is. All of these columns out here are here for a good reason, in that it may be that we just ordered it, that our settings aren't right, and it's telling us to buy something that we really don't need to buy. It also looks at packaging. So if they come in boxes of 100, it has to follow those rules. But basically, if each one of these is okay, and you can change this here as you want to. But the important thing is no manual keying. So here it is. Here is the vendor's purchase order. This can be a released, unreleased, or printed status order. This information can be changed. We can even change the vendor if we wanted to. So then once we save this and then this goes away, theoretically, then this goes away and we go on to the next one. So whenever we run this, it has rules that are following, and that's what this configuration section is here. That there are rules for how we want to handle replenishments. So again, this is designed for eliminating or reducing manual keying. Okay, the next one I wanted to, this is we're on number 7. It says open purchase order component shortages, and we really looked at that before. Let me find where I am here. I'm in the wrong database. Here, I'm in an ES database. I'm in a progression database, and you'll understand that because I have some shop order reports that I want to introduce you to. So this is one we've seen already, where we're looking at customer orders, and we want the ability to drill down on a customer order, which I didn't do that right. I'm supposed to use the part number. I'm drilling down on the part number and determining if I can make it or not. And then number 8 is we have the same thing for shop orders. There really is just a slight difference in the tables. So we're doing the same thing. So if you're using POP or using shop orders, it doesn't matter. This is still the same as taking that, exploding it, providing a summarized bill of material, looking at each component against all other demand. Can I make it, yes or no? And in the case of a no, then it's giving me some information about why that is. And I'm choosing. Okay. I use this database for testing, and sometimes I do something and a column's not working right, so I apologize. So 8B is the same thing. We looked at that before for unreleased production orders. Now, we also have and we have this available for both shop floor and for POP. And that is, I want to be able to look at each order. And the way this is set up here, let me move this over here. This is what I want. Okay, in this case, what I've told the system is look at the item, look at the bill of material and only show me the items that I have trouble with. I don't want to see the full bill of materials. So what we have is an item here that I'll show in a second here. I want to find one that has something on. I'm looking in this column here. I want to find one that has something on order. Well, the reason I'm doing this is that what I want to do is if I have something on order, I want to be able to drill down and see what it looks like down below. So let's find. Okay, let's find this one here. Okay, so this particular manufacturing order 269 needs this poly. So the idea is, if I'm the planner or the expediter, first of all, do I have something on hand? That's why I was choosing ones or on order. I'm just looking at items that have, do I have it on order? So in this particular case, I do. I have 13 on order, but what I have to ask myself is, when is that order coming in? And what is the quantity? Maybe there's 10 other production orders that need the same component, and I'm competing. So this answers the question of at least when is it, how many orders are out there, and when are they coming in? This is the request date here. So this is included in that. I'm going to shift. This is a database that I have that is shop orders. Shop floor control. This is using the Macola test data. So what I'd like to do here is look at, we're not going to look at this inventory reconciliation, but we're going to look at what we're doing with shop orders. And we have 3 variations of that, and they're really all the same report, so it's just a matter of how you want to configure it. This in-process shop order report is designed for your daily production meeting. In other words, if this is your 7:30 meeting in the morning, and we want to look at what are the orders on the floor, how many hours have we put in. So for example, if we not reported any, but we reported a lot of labor, maybe the labor is being accidentally reported to the wrong shop order. So this allows you then to see, and then you can drill down into this down to the bottom, and I'm able to see the bill of material. I'm able to see the bill of material. I'm able to see outside operations, and I'm able to see the routings. So the way that this works then is you're able to see that. And then we also have this dollar summary here. Oh, this is, I chose the wrong one here. This is a, okay, so this is the first one just to analyze and drill down to see the detail below that. Another variation of that is to be able to look at on-time performance. So this one is everything that's on the floor or just been finished. This is an example of where I want to look at a certain item over maybe a 6-month time period, and I want to be able to look at how many days early or late is it taking me to make that item. So here are all, these are my shop order, my historical shop orders. It was due on January 4th. This is not realistic data, but I completed it on May, so I was 130 days late. So the point being, in your data, you're not going to always be late, but the idea being that maybe your routing is not set correctly, and therefore you're late all the time. Or if it's the opposite would be that you're early all the time. But again, this is just a formula in here. I don't know if everybody knows, but in the column chooser for each of these screens, you have the ability to create a custom formula. So I created a custom formula for this earlier days late. I'll show you what that looks like. It's real simple. It's using basically an Excel function to subtract 2 dates. So this is available, and this is the same thing that we've seen before, where I want to, these are my pending shop orders, and I want to be able to drill down by order. I'm clicking on the part instead, by order, and I'm wanting them to look at, can I make it yes or no, yes or no? So you're seeing when I click on it, this is changing here, and it's showing me the information, what's needed, what's on order, what's allocated, and so on. So I promised a shorter webinar than normal today. So we're at 45 minutes. Bart, are you seeing more questions? Do you have more questions?
Yeah, so one is asking, is there a cost for the inventory module?
Yes, there's a cost for each module. Well, it depends. If you're on a perpetual license, and we'll call it the a la carte version, yes, then each one of these modules is $2,000. And then that's good for the system manager. The executive is for 5 users. And then there's a cost, $400 a user after the 5. So each of the modules are $2,000. This inventory optimization is $3,500 because we're basically including everything in the kitchen sink. To our intentions that we have these, we've developed them. We need to get them out into your hands.
Okay, and one more. They're more of a statement or a rhetorical question, but they're assuming that if they need any help getting the field set up in order to use the MRP module, that Leahy is available for assistance.
Oh yeah, we have a dedicated support desk. We have Donna Miller, who has worked with our software for 10 years. She does most of the training and most of the setup, as well as Stacy. And for those of you who know the name Mary Tripp, Mary Hall, Mary now works, she used to be at ECI, and she has been working for us for the past year. So she has 25 years of McColl experience. One of our consultants is a certified public accountant, and she gets involved in everything that has to do with accounting setup or accounting balancing problems or so on. So yes, and all of our support is, we provide unlimited support at no additional cost. Now, if we're having to develop a ton of reports from scratch, those are going to be billable. But if it's taking an existing report and then modifying it or tweaking it, that's usually included at no cost. Okay, well, thank you.
Questions?
Any feedback that we want to
Nothing more question-wise, but if anybody does think of something afterwards, you can definitely still contact us, or if you would like follow-up on any of the previous questions as well.
Yep. Okay, and if anybody would like a quote for this so that you can have this next week, please let us know. Okay, well, thanks for your support of our software, and we're looking forward to hopefully working with you on our inventory optimization screen or screens.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thanks everybody. Have a good week.